A new public opinion poll is calling for better climate education and urgent upskilling. A survey published today by the World Economic Forum shows that the public overwhelmingly blames global warming on human activity, with some regions less trusting of climate science in 2020. Let's get more on the story now. We cross to our reporter Liabo Setho, who is standing by in Davos. A very good afternoon to you, Liabo. Over to you.
Good afternoon, Zinga. That's an interesting survey, isn't it, to find that there's an overwhelming number of people who actually don't trust the findings of science and so forth. So I've asked one of the people who have put together, were involved in this survey, to tell us more about, what the survey is about and how it's going to change our lives. And with me, I have Astrid Polshan, and she's going to be chatting to us now. Thank you so much, Astrid. Please tell us why this survey has found that people are so against science. It's quite surprising, isn't it?
It is, maybe, although I think we didn't find that they're quite so against science. I think it's half of them who still trust in science, although we see a dip compared to last year. And I have to admit that I don't know, because this survey is like a starting point which allows us to talk to the people on the street and understand what they're feeling and what they're seeing. And then I think it's upon us, like governments, NGOs and corporations, to dig deeper into these findings and understand what the concern there is. And I think this is also why we're here at the World Economic Forum, to bring all these parties together and work towards that and make sure that this year isn't also perceived like an era somewhere in the mountains of Davos where only the rich and famous and prestigious people are coming together, but where we are actually trying to find solutions for these people out there. And so I think it is so important to bring the people into Davos who cannot be here.
Let's talk about the issue of climate change. We in South Africa also have about with climate change, with drought, seeing businesses going under because of, how the climate has just suddenly become unpredictable. What has the survey found?
The survey hasn't found that much about really the impacts or whatever, but the overwhelming amount of respondents are very clear that they say it's absolutely human activities that are causing the climate to go completely crazy. So hardly anyone, I think it's a number of 6%, who are saying there is no climate change, or very few who are saying this has nothing to do with people, it's just a natural thing that's happening, and this is the climate might behave completely different in the future. So I think clearly everyone is seeing that, and that is also something that the survey told us, that they all turn to their governments and say, please do more to protect the climate. Even 2 out of 3, I think, or more than twice, are saying do more about the climate than even about economic growth. So they put a clear priority on climate change.
I wonder if we have an idea of what kind of human behaviors are impacting or perpetuating climate change. Do we have a sense of that at any chance?
Well, they did coincidentally come back with that, asking what can you do as people, or what can we as people do, and an overwhelming majority was saying that they would rather have, for example, if we look into the topic of single-use plastic, which is the total drama right now, right? If you look at the plastic in the ocean and the prognosis is really dire. But what they're saying is they would like to see the best solution is that we go away from single-use plastic and find alternative. This is the preferred solution. And the least appreciated thing is actually reuse. In between that is recycling. So this is what people came back with. But then again, many said that they don't really participate in recycling, or some said that because they find it too difficult and it's too complex, and it's whatever, they have to make too big of an effort, which is then again I think super important for us as corporations, governments, whatever, to say we need to make it simpler. If we want people to act on things, then we need to help them make it simple. And so I think this is why this survey has such a signal aspect for everyone who's right here right now.
The survey also caught my attention when it talked about the education aspect of it, which I found quite interesting. What have the participants, maybe to share with our viewers, have said about particularly upskilling for the future in an era where we find that technology seems to be taking over our lives?
Yeah. There was a core piece as well where they said right now they don't think that people who go to school today are actually skilled for the future, because things are transforming so fast from a technology perspective. Innovation cycles are increasing and increasing, and people are concerned. Plus, what I found very concerning is that I think half of the respondents at minimum came back and said education is still something for privileged people. So it is still not available to mainly females, to immigrants, to refugees, whatever. And I think that shouldn't be, right? I mean, that problem is known for such a long time, and to still hear it again also puts a lot of urgency on this topic again. And if I may offer one piece of information, because we're seeing it for such a long time, in 2015, SAP has founded the Africa Code Week, and by now it's an initiative that created opportunities for 6 million young people across Africa already. And the idea is exactly that: get them ready, get them equipped with the skills that make sure they can participate and take advantage of the transformation and not get lost in the process of time.
So the survey obviously covered about 10,000 participants among 30 countries. Where was any African country involved in the survey at all, and was there any material findings?
Absolutely. Unfortunately, I can't comment much on the specific local findings. Africa was a big part of that. I think sub-Saharan countries were included. There was Kenya included, and I think Nigeria. Forgive me if I don't remember that precisely, but definitely yes. So there were 8 regions of the world, and the biggest country were included. That was the idea of the study, and Africa was definitely a part of it.
Astrid, thank you so much. Unfortunately, that's all we have time for, but I thank you very much for joining us on SABC News.
Thank you very much, and thank you, viewers.
Thank you. Thank you, Nzinga. That was Astrid Pulshin. She's with the SEP International, and SEP was also part of putting the survey together that has been released here at the World Economic Forum in Davos. And with that, I'll hand over back to studio.
Liabo Setho live from Switzerland.